Welcome back to the cool Yamaha RGZ and Beyond collection. Now, this is the final additions to all of everything that I had. I had guitars that were literally like this, that were just in pieces, completely taken apart and just non-functional for a long time. A few of these I just didn't really care about, didn't restore, but they are all now 100% complete, down to the artwork I have done on some of these guitars, the hollow flashing, just repairs, restores, pickup changes, all sorts of different jazz. But what we added since a couple of the first videos is this right here, which is the Super Roller 700. It's from 1977, and that is the birth year of me, so I always wanted this one, and it's just immaculate condition. It's just such a cool guitar. Did a lot of work to that one. This is probably the newest guitar out of the collection. It's actually a fairly new guitar. I'd say it's a 2021. It's a Revstar 720. Again, a lot of people have these guitars, so there's nothing really to talk too much about. The Yamaha Weddington was in the last video, but I believe the hollow flash wasn't there. And I think maybe a couple of these other ones right here. But what I'm going to do is just real quick, just give you a recap of what we've got. So the guitars themselves, we're going to start off with the series, okay? Just a recap for what these are. This and this right here, these are RGZ 3s. So this is a 321P, and obviously what we talked about before, and we'll take this, show you that right there. Hopefully that zooms in. So it's an RGZ 321P. And what it means is that it has a pick guard, which is what the P means. 21 is going to be an HSH setup with a 5-way switch. All of these guitars have some kind of a tremolo on them. Some better than others. We'll talk about that in a second. But for the most part, when it has a reverse headstock, like this does up here, that would be considered the R. So if it was a PR, you would have this one. So this right here is actually a 621 PR, okay? So that's really, if you look at the similarities between the guitars, they are very, very close. This one is exactly the same thing as that one, as well as that one. They are all 621 PRs. So when we get this one, this right here is a 612 because it doesn't have the HSH. But while we're commenting on this, since I've taken all these things apart, this has the same exact neck, except just not as a reverse headstock as this one. Some of the hardware on these things are a little bit different. For example, let's zoom in on here, and you can see it says "Let It Rock." Now, what this is not an RGZ. This is a YG. Hopefully you can see that okay. But basically, when you see the YG, if it will come up in there, I'm sorry about that, and focus doesn't really want to do that. But anyways, it says YG612. It's basically the same thing. Any one of the Let It Rocks, I think, were for the Asian markets or the European markets, and they just didn't sell. Now, there's a couple other things that you could pass right over, which is like this guitar. It has the TRS Pro on it. This guitar, however, has a totally different tremolo. They look similar, but this one has the Pro 2. So that's the one that's got the locking mechanisms for the actual intonation. I hated the system because I didn't understand it at first, but once I understood how easy it is, you just basically use the dive bar, pull it down, screw in the tension for the thing, so you don't even have to undo this. You can leave these all loose when you're setting your intonation, get it to lock back in position, put it back in the bar, it's done, and then when you're done, you can just lock these down in place. But it's the easiest way to set intonation with a tremolo. It's an outstanding system. Now, going back to a couple things, talking about hardware and levels of quality, this is actually, a lot of people have told me, the 321 was one of the best necks that they ever played on any electric guitar that they owned. This guitar, when I pulled it off, inside the neck pocket, guess what the neck said? 621. So this is the same exact neck that's on that guitar, as well as pretty much this. So they're manufactured identically. You can see even the fret markers are exactly the same. Fret markers, exactly the same. So these necks were made in the same factories. It didn't matter where they went. Now this body is a beautiful body. The paint job is great. The pickups, not terrible, they're not great. The middle pickup is just garbage, it's crap. And then this is the TRS 101, and it's basically made out of just tin foil. It's just a really, really cheap piece of crap tremolo. Same thing with the tuners, they're not great. I would say there's something that you could upgrade on this, but this is where the price point kind of gets screwed up. If you replace that tremolo and put it on something like this, it could cost you $200 to $300. You can get this guitar for less than $100. So it becomes, if you can find one of these guitars in a really good condition like this one looks, this thing did not look like that until I restored it. I mean, I even polished the pickguard so it looks brand spanking new, cleaned every single part, and I did a couple of hacks to it. But I mean, it's still a very great playing and sounding guitar. It's just that the hardware is just bad. Now, when we talk about the hardware switch, this right here, since this is the TRS Pro, this is identical to the Ibanez Low Pro. And if you take these off, they all say Takuchi, made in Japan. So this is the exact same tremolo configuration as this right here, as this right here. They're all identical. They were made by the same people, they were just stamped differently, okay? Now, let's move through some of the models because we now know the Let It Rock is a YG series. This right here is an RGZ series, but totally, totally different. I'm sorry about the focus. I don't know what's going on with the focus right now. But the RGZ series, this is one of the off neck type designs, and I don't really know when they started introducing these, but this would be an RGZ 3. They didn't call it anything else, they just called it an RGZ 3. But this one is made in Japan, and it actually has the go-to tuners, and it's got a really nice locking for the neck pocket and everything like that, so it's really stable. I ratted on this guitar really hard when I first got it because it just, the pickups in these positions were terrible. They had a kind of a super distortion that I just didn't like. It just didn't jive. And the guitar just really was in poor condition. It just was not polished. It's just kind of just wasn't set up. So of course I just didn't like it. But I was gonna trade it out. I put my X2Ns and I put these other pickups that came out of that guitar from stock, put them in here and then down-tuned it. So it's kind of a metal guitar, and that thing just chugs. It's a ripping metal guitar now. So it wasn't set up for regular guitar playing, but I set it up for you know, really good metal chug stuff, and it's just an awesome guitar. So now let's move on from that. So that's the 3 series. It's the only ones I have that are actual 3 series. That one's probably middle of the grade. They do have, I think, a 1 series, like a 112 and a 121, and those are, I can't even imagine how lower they can get. Maybe the neck is just really not good, but you know, they're entry-level guitars, but that's kind of a mid-level guitar. You could swap the pickups out, swap the hardware out, and you would absolutely love that guitar. All right, so now we look at this one. This one I hand-painted because it came from an estate sale from this one, and there was some damage to this guitar, so I ended up just hand-painting all of this artwork. It took me forever, and just clear-coated it again. But this right here is kind of a unique one because it is a 620, well, let me just confirm that. Yeah, it's a 621D. It is an RGZ, but we do have something special about this one. It has these offset and scalp frets, okay? So this isn't exactly the same as you would find on all the 621s, because they do make 621s that are just like this, for example, okay? That have the, you know, just standard 621 neck without the offsets for this. Okay, so this was kind of like an upgrade. But as you can see, no pick guard, so that's where it gets the D from the name. And again, this is as good as any guitar that I have. The tremolo came with a couple of cracked saddles, so I had to replace those. I put up a whole nother video on how to do that hack, but it's a really cool guitar. I haven't really demoed it as far as sound, but it's just an awesome guitar. So I'm really happy that I finally got around to doing the paint on that. So we already talked about the configuration. This is exactly the same as this. This is a Let It Rock series. This is also a Let It Rock series. So they are identical, basically YGs. And you can see they both have that special trim right here. So Let It Rock series had that. And you can see even on this one, totally different. This one is the pretty much the brother-sister. This is the 612 because it's got the HSS, and the 621 YG series for Let It Rock. And then we come over to this guy. This is yet another one that was discussed. I took this, it was just a regular basic kind of red color. It's pretty much almost identical to that. And I stripped it down, did my very first swirl. I thought it was an epic failure, but it actually looks absolutely rad. It's one of a kind. I love this guitar. It is a killer shred machine. This was also one of the reasons that I got it is because it is also made in Japan. It's got the go-to tuners on it. And it had this special kind of edition, it said special edition model 612JS, and it has like this keep rockin' blade on there. Very lightweight guitar, believe it or not. And it's a 612 because, again, we've got this. I swapped them out with two parallel axis Seymour Duncan pickups. It was the first time I got a chance to check them out. This one also has that RM2 locking tremolo. I think this was the first guitar I discovered it on. This was one that didn't like it, but I figured out how to use it. But I basically put a 5-way in here, split that. It's a really killer sounding guitar. I really enjoy this guitar. Don't play it nearly enough. All right, so again, this is the Super Rock and Roller. This is the highest end made in Japan Strat copy. As you can see, it says Yamaha Japan on the tuners themselves. But I mean, the guitar it's absolutely immaculate. I mean, there's not a scratch on this thing. It's absolutely gorgeous. I refretted it because the frets themselves were just these tiny little baby frets, you know, from the 70s. And I did quite a few mods to it. I had to have this pickup rewound by somebody, so it's rewound, but these are stock. I did put some Tusk saddles on it, and I did put a Tusk nut, and it sounds brilliant. But when I redid the frets, I didn't do them perfectly, so there's some dead spots on them that I just have to get around to fixing one day, but it is a killer sounding guitar. And then with Revstar, awesome. Can't say enough good things about them. Yamaha Weddington. This guitar, I just think, in all fairness, is just one of the most gorgeous instruments I've ever seen. The appointments of this guitar are just stellar. They really are. I mean, this is a true Les Paul killer. Not to say anything wrong about Les Pauls, but this guitar, you just can't compare these in a lot of ways. I mean, it's a super heavy guitar, so it's definitely got that Les Paul type of groove, but look at the carving. It's just unbelievable. Neck joints, made in Japan. Absolutely stunning instrument, and the action on this thing is just, it's a feather. It's just so easy to play. Really cool technology also. It's got a 5-way switch, but in this position you can actually mess with a blender. It's got just a lot of stuff. I came with the original case from Japan, plus all of the case candy and manuals and stuff like that, so I was real lucky to get that one. A very rare find to find a Weddington custom in this shape. So I was lucky. So we got another one. This is the Sparkle Finish guitars. These are actually pretty cool. This is still in the 6 series. This is a RGZ 621P, as you can see. If it'll zoom in on that, yeah, there we go. And so this one is just a sparkle finish. The funny thing is it looks like it's gold, especially compared to that color. You can see how silver and gold this is. But that is actually just the glue that they used with the sparkle flake, which is that same type of sparkle they used to put on your decorations as a child. Over like the paper plates. But again, it's got the HSS setup, and this one, because it's not the Let It Rock series, if you look really close, if it'll zoom, it's just the TRS Pro. So that's one of the big differences between this series, which is just the non-Let It Rock, to when they put the Let It Rock on there, they did upgrade the tremolo. So this is technically a little bit more of a higher end guitar. And we come over to here, this is where we're gonna jump up a number. This is where we're going into a very special edition guitar. And this one was a really hard to find one. There was a couple of them that sold for very inexpensive because, you know, so most people don't want these burst sparkles, they just don't care, but it was a hard find for me. Had to deal with the condition. It was in really bad condition. The guy even cut through the pick guard because he didn't know you could just Dremel that out and just turn a screwdriver into it so you can get that off. But I fixed it all up. It's pretty beat up and everything like that. It's got a lot of gashes here and there. You can see it was, you know, set down improperly. It's just got some really nasty, you know, belt wear and all that kind of stuff. But it's still a very cool guitar. But this has the RGZ 621P, and it's an R, but underneath the neck pocket, because this is a limited run finish, it has an X. So supposedly, I think it was Musician's Friend that was selling this guitar. So they were the only ones that had this particular finishing color. So that's what makes that kind of unique, but it's still a 621, just like this guy. It's identical, it's the same thing. Pickups, hardware, everything is about the same. It's just the finish. Now we'll jump up one more series number. This right here is kind of unique because it shares that same offset of what I was saying about this particular guitar right over here. So this is a 621D, but notice that these are not these are, I guess they look like they're mother of pearl. They do have some kind of a sheen to them. They're just not, they look more like mother of pearl than abalone. But most of those dots are just white dots. But over here, you can see the abalone really just, shine. You can see the color of the greens and the blues and everything like that for those. Now, we got a couple other things that are going to be different on this particular guitar. As you can see, the sparkle finish. The reason this one still looks silver and not gold, because it was a case queen. Basically, it was brand new. Nobody ever used it, never played it out live. So it really never hit the sun. And that's what really just discolored those two. I'll put them side by side real quick so you can see them, how big of a difference. Look at the colors. That's huge, right? You can really see the silver and the gold, different tints and stuff like that. So, but this one right here, let's see what the name on this one is. This is RGZ 721 MR, okay? And so what that MR means, and we don't have a lot of them, this is pretty much, I only have four. I have four guitars with maple fretboards, and so that's where the M comes from. This one, is basically the same deal as I was telling you. It's got the regular tremolo, which is the Pro. Nothing. It's not the RM2. I put some Evo pickups from a gym. This is the stock pickup. I just put a cool cover on and stuff like that. But this is another slamming guitar. So we have the configuration of the HSH, which makes it a 21. The M gives it the maple fretboard, and the offset really doesn't make any difference, but this is a 721 series, and the 721 series all had this scalp frets. And then the R obviously dictates the reverse headstock. So now we'll go back over to here. This is another identical guitar, as you can see. Maple fretboard, abalone, everything's here. This is also the same body shape and everything like that. I did this custom hollow flash myself. It was my very first attempt at doing this. I put some bare knuckles with like this burnt rainbow on there, so it has this really cool effect. But it's actually all over the front and back and sides and everything like that, so it's actually a very, very cool guitar. I did all the cavities with copper foil, so it's a really, really cool guitar. It's got a really unique sound. Funny enough, it sounds almost more like a Les Paul than it does like a shred instrument. I know you can shred on a Les Paul, but it's got just like this really kind of creamy tone. But I think one of them is an Aftermath, and the other one is a War Pig or something like that, and then this is a Cobra. That's the pickups that I put into there. All right, so those are the 721s. That is the D, M for maple, R for reverse headstock, so that's that. And that's all the 721s of those series. Now let's step up to the 8 series. So now we've got this one. This is a beautiful, beautiful guitar. Very kind of a fusion jazz kind of a combination. It does have the same tremolo as all the other ones. So the tremolo's not been upgraded, it's just the Pro. It's got whole gold hardware, as you can see, it's all worn off, but that's okay. It looks, patinaed. These are the stock pickups, hadn't changed anything about this. This has something a little bit of an upgrade. So it has the rosewood fretboard, but it also has these oval abalone inlays and offset here with that. Again, all the 8 series have that carve out. Okay, so once you get up to the 6 series, some of them has this, as you can see. Remember, go back here. That is available on a 6 series guitar. I don't know why they did it for that particular one, but I guess it was just an in-between for this. So we've got this guitar. It's pretty much an RGZ 821D. Okay, now that's where it stops because it doesn't have a maple fretboard and it does not have a reverse headstock. So this is an 821D. Now we'll go to this one right here. These are the two I would consider flagships, okay? They still share the same exact hardware. You can see this is a little bit cleaner than the other one. But this one right here had a little bit more pronounced flame pattern. It still has the maple neck, okay, because the maple was considered, I guess, an upgrade. Offset, you know, this, the scalp frets, and then it also has the reverse headstocks, okay? So those are 821 DMRs, okay, for the maple and the reverse headstocks. So this was the last one that I got. Excellent, excellent sounding guitars, really cool guitars. A lot of fun to play, but they're basically all 8 series. So they all share the same type of pickups and all that kind of jazz. And last but not least, the final ones. Everybody loves this one. This is the one that got me started on the entire collection of Yamaha, okay? So this right here is the Blue Saracino 1993. Now this tremolo is no different than the tremolos that are over there. This is just the regular Pro, okay? It's the same one that's on so many of the other guitars, so there's nothing really special about this tremolo. These are the original stock pickups and they are unbelievable. And they do not need to be swapped out. They really, really need your attention because they are some of the greatest sounding pickups I've ever heard. They were co-made with Yamaha and DiMarzio for Blue Saracino for the Plaid album. And he just quickly switched over to Seymour Duncan for some reason. I can't figure it out because that's one of the best sounding pickups I've ever heard. I make this mention that's really different and really unique about this particular guitar. Out of all the guitars, every one of these guitars, they all have 24 frets. Every single one of them have 24 frets. So I'm gonna put my hand right here and just kind of keep that position, drag it over to here, and look at the difference of where that pickup position. So you actually get an extra pickup because it's wider here. So when he goes into his mode right there, and gets that fat tone, you get that extra fatness that's across that board, and that's part of the reason that he has his tone. I'll flip this over. You can see I've got the original signature from 1993, and this is number 7. It's in immaculate condition. And again, this one was sold to me by Blue Saracino's manager and the owner of the store where he grew up in Connecticut. So there's a lot of history with this particular guitar, and I was lucky enough to grab that one. And there we go, identical guitar. This one, I swapped the pickups out. I took the pickups originally from this and I put it in a totally different guitar, which is awesome, totally different story. But this is the first time I got a chance to put in the parallel axis. I think these were the 2s of the versions because they have the 1s, they have the 2s, and they have the 3s, and they have different mids and whatever. But what I did with this is I basically I modded the pickups to have a 5-way switch. Okay, so I have all the different coil splitting options and everything like that, but this is exactly the same guitar. And the reason that they made this guitar in the same image as this, so this is an 820. So what these are 820Rs because they have no single coil. So you would actually have an 821 or an 812, but you don't have that. So those 2s just represent 2, 1, 2, and that's really the easiest way to do that. So 2 pickups just basically is 2, 0. That's it. But they're identical guitars in weight, in fashion. The pickups were just as good coming out of that. They didn't need to be swapped. I even did a demo of that. But this one right here, this was supposed to be a recreation of the other color scheme that he originally had hand painted. This is a wrap. This is not a paint job, okay? So when they did this, there was no way they were gonna be able to commercially do this much work on a paint job and make it economical. So doing custom, trying to think of what the word is, but basically masking, thank you. But masking work is very expensive and tedious, so that's gonna be a $1,200 to $1,500 paint job, so this guitar would be like $4,000. Almost nobody would buy it. So they figured out how to make a wrap, paint the sides black. If you look at his original one on the album, I'll put up a picture in a second, as you can see that it's on the horns and everything like that, it's wrapped all the way around, so it was a paint job that was actually done by hand, and that was a problem specifically because this is watermelon plaid, but the original color scheme was made off of the 3M tape, and that's why they couldn't use it, because it would be copyright infringement to make it. Now they could do it as a one-off, as a piece of art, and that's why he was able to do it. But as soon as you mass produce it, that's when lawsuits from 3M would have come, and they just were not going to battle that. So this right here was supposed to be the yellow and black and green 3M version, but I decided to have it swirled. Unfortunately, the guy that swirled it did not swirl it with the right color yellow. So this was supposed to be yellow, this light color. That was supposed to be the dark green, that was supposed to be the black, that obviously was supposed to be yellow, and it's not even close to being yellow. It's like this off green color. So you can see that's yellow, that's a green. So the swirl did not come out great. I unfortunately took it to somebody that also, when he clear coated it, there was bubbles all over the place. There were some issues. You know, I think you can see there's like some flaws in the clear coat, but you can see some of my artwork I even put on there and hand drew these things. But then the guy that clear coated it, he wiped it down with a cleaner and took my artwork completely off. You can see some places it's just, now it just looks like somebody took a marker to my guitar. So all this artwork that I just took and I did this, sanded off the clear coat, redid all the artwork, all that kind of stuff, and he just tore it off. So that was an epic disappointment, all the stuff that I went through it, but this has still got the original stock pickups. I modded those, so it's on a 5-way switch, okay? This is only on a 3-way, originally configured. But this right here is kind of the stock version of that, you know, swirled, because it started its life out exactly like this, and we redid it to do that. But I put my name on it. It's very cool. You know, I still like the guitar. It's amazing, but it was so depressing that all I went through with that thing was just driving me crazy. So that's pretty much the collection. We've got a couple of guitars around the corner that are part of the Yamahas. We got that NTX, which is just, you know, an acoustic electric nylon. And then we have these guitars, these bass guitars right here, which are the BB5000s. I've got the black one right here. That's the one that's made in Japan, and then this is the Olympic white one that's made in Taiwan. It's pretty much all stock except for this little mod I did up there. But that right there is the complete collection. All the little idiosyncrasies and details are all discussed. I hope this has been informative and what you're looking out for, what kind of tremolos things have. Check out my channel for more information on how to restore these instruments, how to fix them, clean them up, polish them, do all the different fretwork. All that stuff is on my channel. Check it out. If you like subscribing, go ahead and do that for me. I'd appreciate it. But if you guys have any questions, I always answer them and always look for the responses. So you guys have a wonderful day, and we'll hopefully see you rocking.